I am a true Arizonan.
On this episode of Jen and Friends,
We demand excellence. We don't settle for mediocrity.
we talk with school board member Nathan Madden.
I feel the most important position that you can run for in your local community is school board.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Madden is running for a higher office.
I do not tolerate waste, fraud, or abuse of taxpayer funds.
And his platform has us thinking.
So this is really, really interesting. Yeah, and that gives me something new to think about. Okay, we're good. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. What is your background? Have you always lived in Arizona? Are you native to the area?
Yeah, so I'm a third generation Arizonan. My grandmother was born in Tucson. My mother was born in Glendale. My father was born in Phoenix. I was born in Phoenix, right down there at St. Joe's, 12th Street.
Okay, all right. And do you live in the West Valley now?
Yeah, so I was born and raised West Phoenix, Maryville area.
Okay.
I came out to the Buckeye area when I turned 18.
I have to tell you, it's been really fun following you on Twitter, X. I have lived in the area for almost 20 years now. I was on the Goodyear City Council years ago. But when you decided to jump in for the school board in the Buckeye Union High School District, it was the first time I had heard of your name. So I'm kind of excited to talk with you today about some of these different issues. Before we get into it, though, it's really interesting that we're having this conversation today, given everything happening in Texas and with the federal government. Do you have any perspective on what's happening, especially now that there's kind of a tug of war between the federal government and Texas right as we're speaking?
So, me personally, I'm a big states' rights guy. Like, I'm a big 10th Amendment guy. So I believe that the federal supremacy clause of the Constitution, the federal Constitution, is really only supposed to be with laws made in conjunction to the Constitution. There's so many laws out there right now that are not actually constitutional. They've just not been challenged yet. And now with what's going on in Texas, I think that they have every right to do what they need to do, that they feel is in the best interests of Texans.
So on your profile on X, right there in your handle is Ditat Deus. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did you decide to add that to your profile name?
So I am a true Arizonan, even to the point of that's our state motto, right? Ditat Deus, which is God provides. It's been the guiding principle throughout my life, I do believe, and wouldn't be where I am without the Lord above.
Your account also shows that you support local businesses,
yes,
competition, and diminishing the size of government.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this passion? Where does it stem from? Have you always had this kind of a passion, and how do you kind of incorporate this into your current journey in life?
I've always had a bit of a rebellious streak, let's call it, right? Even growing up and through school and all this stuff, I've seen people around me and the culture around me kind of reject individualism. That's what I believe in. I believe in the power of the individual, what each and every one of us is capable of doing and capable of achieving.
Tell me, how did you decide to run or get involved in the school board in the Buckeye Union High School District? How did that come about?
I'd already been fairly politically involved. I was appointed to the Buckeye Library Advisory Board first. I was on that for a year. And then I got involved in the school board mainly because of what I saw during the pandemic. And I wanted to make sure that didn't happen again. We can't be shutting down these, this is where our children are being taught, and they need to be taught well. They can't be, locked down in their houses, not even able to go outside. Come on.
What do you feel are the biggest challenges right now for today's youth?
Have you seen the world? No, the challenges really are inherent in the culture now. People don't respect merit anymore. We've had an entire generation go by where it's been nothing but participation trophies, and you'll get there if you just believe. But believing is not enough. You have to be taught how to do things. You have to be taught, how to think for yourself as well. And there's been so much of that missing. And that's stuff that I'm trying to bring back.
Right before the pandemic, there was a whole effort of CRT is not being taught in our schools. This is not happening. It's never going to happen. And now fast forward to 2024, and there's a push to even put urgent cares in the schools. Will this ever get better? Have we crossed a line that so far that our children will never know the America that we knew when we were kids?
Here's the beauty of the current situation, right? There's always that gleaming light in the dark, the ESA program, right? If you find that your child is in a district that you don't agree with what they're teaching, if you think that this kind of social Marxist plot that's going on is infecting your area, messing with your kids, you can leave now. That's freedom of choice right there. That's educational freedom. That's why I'm a big proponent of the ESA program. I think that, the districts will either survive or fail on their own now. And it's up to the parents to be very involved.
Can you talk a little bit about the ESA crisis? I call it a crisis right now. Talk about the popularity of the program and what are you seeing in the West Valley?
I really wouldn't call it a crisis. I think it's the natural result of bad decisions, right? So if a number of districts are performing poorly and they're not doing anything to make it better, and the parents know this, they're going to leave. They're going to go to a better performing district. So I really wouldn't call it a crisis. I think that this is a natural correction of we've let things go so long. Now we're starting to come back to something that makes sense. But from what I've seen in the West Valley, I can tell you right now, my district, it's a high performing district. It's a very competitive district, right? We have some things that even private schools aren't capable of achieving right now. And I hope that we can be the example that shows you can do it better.
I do want to say a huge congratulations. You have a couple of schools that have now moved up into being A-rated schools. That is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And it is so great. As a taxpayer, as a resident, this is fantastic. What do you attribute that to in the Buckeye Union High School District?
It's a number of things, right? As most things are. Within the district, it's the focus on career and technical education, right? So it's that our students have skills and are critical thinkers and do actually understand the material. We don't focus on things like social and emotional learning and all these other distractions. But aside from that, it's also a ton of work from the staff. The teachers are great. And then also with admin, we have a very strong fiscal conservancy within our direction. Being able to make the most out of every dollar keeps costs down, keeps quality up. Our board, we have a very singular focus on improvement and excellency. We demand excellence. We don't settle for mediocrity.
lately I've been covering West Valley School District that has now approved almost $200,000 in out-of-state travel for its governing board members and for its administrative staff. And this does not include the student field trips, the, competitive team, tournament, out-of-state, whatever it might be. This is strictly for admin and the school board members. You had commented about you won't stand for that in your school district. So first of all, what are your thoughts when you find out that there is a school district approving this much money in out-of-state travel? I mean, there are administrative members who are taking 5+ trips this year alone in that one school district. What are your thoughts on this?
Not great. Not great. I mean, people have to understand that you're there to represent the public and you're there to be good stewards of public money, right? And I really shouldn't say public money, right? It's taxpayer money. People are getting taxed for this. People are supposedly you're supposed to pay taxes and you get goods and services back, but oftentimes the quality is just so poor. Now with this, I mean, it just sounds like waste. And that's one thing that, as you said, I don't tolerate. I do not tolerate waste, fraud, or abuse of taxpayer funds.
A few people have commented on the Facebook page that I run that, meetings, conferences, they have a purpose and they're good, but do we really need to be sending 4 governing board members to New Orleans in the spring?
No. First of all, I mean, I'm not going to imply that we don't do trainings and whatnot, but it's so much cheaper to fly a single trainer out to us, right? And we host versus sending 4 out. That's just good use of funds, right? That's 1 to 4. But even aside from that, there's plenty of opportunities here in the state of Arizona when it comes to education. I mean, the Arizona School Board Association has a number of trainings throughout the year, and they gather a lot of different systems of best practices from these national conferences. So you don't even need to send your individual board members out. You just go to what we have that already filtered out the information,
So tell me about your run for state rep. This is pretty exciting. How did you decide to do this?
Well, initially, it was done out of spite for Timothy Dunn.
Okay.
He never took anybody's calls. Everyone that I talked to, he wouldn't interact with the public. I talked to even some lobbying groups, and they were like, "Yeah, he didn't answer our calls either." Like, who is this guy? What is he doing? And I had a bill that I was trying to get at least introduced. It was like gold and silver currency bill, something that we could do on the state level, make sure that gold and silver is recognized as money.
Okay.
Never got anything from him. So that initially it was to run to replace him. Found out he's going to the Senate, and so that just leaves that open. I decided to continue the run because I had a couple other ideas that I wanted to get at least into the legislature. My platform includes, first of all, I want to eliminate the Arizona income tax. I think that we can get rid of that outright. Secondly, there's some police reform stuff that we can do, making some of the police groups accountable to the public. It's my understanding that the way that the sheriffs are set up, right, it comes out of common law practice. So it's kind of a naturally occurring thing. But all the sheriffs are elected. And so you have that public person to taxpayer connection right away, right? There's no degree of separation. Well, we should be doing that for the police chiefs. Right now, like in the city of Buckeye, The police chief is chosen by the city manager. The city manager is chosen by the mayor, and then the mayor comes out of an elected body of councilmen, and then the councilmen are elected by the public. So you have 4 or 5 degrees of separation. There's no way that you could have an accountable police force that way.
Very interesting. I never really thought about that. That is really fascinating.
Right. I'm using sheriffs as the model
Okay.
for what other police forces should be.
Right.
Right. And that's it. The whole point is protect and serve the public. Right. That's the point. Well, once you start separating so many degrees away, then what incentive do the police have?
Right. That and police are such an important part of our everyday life. So this is really, really interesting. I have never thought about this before. So yeah, and that gives me something new to think about.
Right.
What would you say is your number one issue that's most important to you?
Economy. It really is. If we have a strong economy here in the state of Arizona, then any other outside influence, say it's the federal government, say it's another state, right? I mean, we've had to kowtow to California more than once.
Mm-hmm.
But the stronger our economy is, the more independent we are from these outside forces. And so I want Arizona to be the beacon on the hill that America's supposed to be.
So you're running on the Libertarian ticket, is that correct?
Yes.
And I did notice one of your posts from, I think maybe a month or two ago with the Green Party. And it was a congratulations. It is we're adding a little bit more to the competition here. But do you really feel that there will be a day where we are recognizing more often Green Party, Libertarian, and these different organizations?
I do. Here's the thing, right? That day has happened before. When the Whigs basically collapsed and the Republicans came up, the Republicans were third party for almost 100 years before they actually got a presidential seat before the Whigs collapsed. So it's happened before. It'll happen again. I think that public opinion of the major two parties is fairly low altogether. I mean, the majority of moderates now don't have anybody to represent them because both political parties are on the extremes, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that the independent voter base is the largest voter population in the country. In many states, I believe over 30 that have registration. The independents are the highest registered. So people are definitely discontent. Now is the time to start showing some successes with the third parties, right? That'll bring more people in because they'll have more confidence about viability and whatnot.
Why do you feel people don't run for school board? It's been an issue out here for the 20 years I've lived out here. A lot of these seats, there's no competition, or basically people are appointed. Why is that? Why can't we get people motivated? I feel the most important position that you can run for in your local community is school board.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Why won't people run?
The issue is, and I've had this conversation, I don't know how many times, but every time that I bring it up within my party, right, I'm told, yeah, let me run for dog catcher. It's like, it's just looked at as so unimportant. But students are the next generation. This is the core of our future. I really don't see how people can be so dismissive. It doesn't make a lick of sense to me.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It really, especially during the pandemic, it kind of raised eyes, I think, with more people about, wow, we have an open seat here. Who's going to run for this? who are the people stepping up for this? So yeah, that's my message for people is if you really want to make a difference in your community, school board is the number one place where you should be looking.
I agree.
You know what? Thank you so much for your time today.
Of course.
I'm so excited to see what you do in this race and what you're able to accomplish in the future.
I definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak. If you ever want to again, my schedule's open.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Go out and enjoy this beautiful weather.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one.